Hello everyone and welcome to the first part of the slabs tutorial where we'll be making the base for our 3D printed lamp. Just a few things to mention before we get started. If you haven't watched the Blender YouTube tutorial videos yet, we encourage you to do so you can follow along easily. And number two, make sure that you have the latest Blender version downloaded on your computer. Also, as a final disclaimer, we'll be creating the lamp base and the shade in the same Blender environment. Alright, let's get started. First of all, let's create a new Blender file. Automatically, Blender gives us this cube, which we really don't need, so we're going to delete it. Press delete on your keyboard. So one thing that I'd like to note is that Blender doesn't really care about units, so we'll disable the units that we have in our scene. So to do that, simply go to Scene Properties, and then go to Units, and set the unit system to None. The reason we do this is to make sure that when we're exporting our 3D model, we all have the same scaling factor. Awesome! So our base is technically a hollow cylinder with a certain thickness. And in order to create a hollow cylinder, we'll be creating two concentric cylinders and then subtract the smaller one from the bigger one. So let's create the first cylinder. So we'll press Shift A, click on Mesh, go to Cylinder, and then we'll go to this bottom dialog box here and set our vertices to 64, our radius to 5, and our depth to 4 centimeters. Also make sure that the cylinder is at the origin, so 0, 0, 0 should be the corresponding entries for location X, Y, and Z. Awesome! So next step is to create our second cylinder. So again, we'll press Shift A, Mesh, Cylinder, and this time we're going to set the radius to 4.8 such that we get a thickness of 2 millimeters here at the walls. So additionally, we'd also like to have thickness here at the base, and we'd like this thickness to be 3 millimeters. So what we'll do is we'll move our smaller cylinder up in the Z direction by 0.3 centimeters, or what corresponds to 3 millimeters. And there we have it. We have two concentric cylinders. So the next step is to subtract the smaller cylinder from the big cylinder. In order to do that, we're going to use a modifier. So while you still have the bigger cylinder selected, go to the Modifier tab and click on Add Modifier. And we'll choose the Boolean modifier because this is the modifier that allows us to subtract bodies from one another. So we already have our object selected here as the cylinder. And then for the object that is subtracting, we'll simply press on the smaller cylinder using the eyedropper tool and make sure that you have it set at difference. Finally, we'll click Apply. And while you might not see the result here, simply delete the smaller cylinder, and there you have it. We have our hollow cylinder, or we have our base.